DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India continues its strong pitch at World Economic Forum in Davos. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw says Bharat is building a complete semiconductor ecosystem. U.S. President Trump says U.S. and NATO will reach agreement on Greenland's future. No going back. On control won't rule out force. European Parliament freezes approval of U.S. trade deal following Trump's tariff stance over Greenland. Australian Parliament passes gun reforms and anti-hate bills following Bondi shooting that killed 15 people. And in sports, the India-New Zealand rivalry shifts to the shortest format as the men in blue face the Black Caps in the first of the 5 T20 internationals in Nagpur today. On to the details now. As global leaders attending the Davos 2026, the World Economic Forum plays a key role in shaping India's economic vision, with discussions on investment, trade, AI, MSMEs, climate finance, and India's growing influence in global decision-making. On day 3 of the forum, several union ministers and state leaders will be attending special sessions related to the key sectors. As India continues its strong pitch at Davos 2026, Maharashtra and Jharkhand bagged investments. While speaking at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos, India's Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnaw, has said that India is working at all levels of chip manufacturing and aims to become the world's largest supplier of services. The minister also acknowledged India's AI revolution, calling it Industry 5.0.
There are 5 layers in the AI architecture: the application layer, the model layer, the chip layer, the infra layer, and the energy layer. We are working on all the 5 layers, making very good progress in all the 5 layers. On the application layer, we will probably be the biggest supplier of services to the world. Go to an enterprise, understand the business of enterprise, understand the working of that enterprise, and provide that service using AI applications. That's going to be the biggest factor of success or successful deployment of AI, because that's where ROI comes from. ROI doesn't come from creating a very large model. 95% of the work can happen with models which are 20 billion or 50 billion parameters. We are creating a bouquet of such models. We already have. We already have a bouquet of such models which are now being deployed in multiple sectors to increase the productivity, to increase the efficiency, to increase the effective use of technology.
Well, the minister also highlighted the availability of GPUs, that is graphic processing unit, and said that to address the growing demand, India plans to enable public-private partnerships to create a common compute facility accessible to the entire population. And this facility will be subsidized and supported by the government.
The biggest constraint is availability of GPUs. How do you solve that constraint? To solve that constraint, we decided to have a public-private partnership in which we empaneled 38,000 GPUs, which are a common compute facility available to the entire population. Unlike in many rich countries where the big tech basically controls the access to GPU, we decided to create a public-private partnership in which the common compute facility is enabled by the government and subsidized by the government, so that entire population, all the students, researchers, startups, they all get access to it. And the cost is practically 1/3 of the cost in most other countries.
Well, India has already secured new investment commitments from Cisco and Hitachi, advanced talks on a historic EU trade deal, and showcased its largest ever delegation to position itself as the fastest growing large economy and a premier investment destination at Davos 2026. More in this report on India's presence at Davos.
At Davos 2026, the world gathers to shape the future of business, innovation, and global cooperation. And this year, India stands tall as a commanding presence. Union Ministers Ashwini Vaishnav, Prahlad Joshi, and K. Ram Mohan Naidu join Chief Ministers like Devendra Fadnavis, N. Chandrababu Naidu, Hemanta Biswa Sarma, and others to showcase India's economic strength and vision. The India Pavilion reflects the nation's dynamism, creativity, and unstoppable momentum. From cutting edge technology to sustainable solutions, from world class infrastructure to thriving startups, India embodies the spirit of a nation on the rise.
Energy itself, that is the green energy and resilient infrastructure, we need more than $350 billion. And there is a return is assured. So, you know, the total NPA is the lowest today. 10, 11 years back, NPA was the highest in the world. Today, lowest 2.1%. So we are managing in every sector well. And that's why Prime Minister is telling to all us, perform, transform, and also not only performing, not only transforming, we should inform. We should inform to the world so that every person who is in Davos, he should feel that he should come here and see the India's growth.
India today is the fastest growing large economy in the world, with a young, skilled workforce, bold reforms, and a digital first mindset. It offers unmatched opportunities for investors seeking growth and resilience. Opportunities lie also in India's northeast, with the largest state there boasting of a rapid growth potential.
We are growing at almost 13% in last 5 years. And hopefully for the next year, our projection is that will be grown by 15%. So that is the growth trajectory of Assam, thanks to the bold leadership of Prime Minister. We are necessarily strong in hydrocarbon, but we are also doing good in green energy.
At Davos, leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators from across the globe are discovering why India is not just a market, but a partner in shaping the future. India is being seen as a gateway to possibilities where tradition meets transformation and ambition meets achievement.
Right after Davos, the next weekend, I will travel to India. There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. One that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP.
India's presence at Davos is also powered by the presence of business leaders such as Mukesh Ambani and more than 100 CEOs from banking, technology, renewable energy, and startups.
We also want to be a Vishwabandhu, a partner with the whole world and all the countries and all the people. And we saw this spirit clearly today during the COVID-19 also, when we were transporting vaccines, medicines, and providing all the help to different countries who were in need at that time. And that is our values of democracy, sustainability, inclusiveness, collaboration for the greater good of the planet that continues to guide us.
Together, they represent the unstoppable momentum of the fastest growing large economy in the world. At Davos, global leaders are discovering why investing in India means investing in resilience, growth, and opportunity. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, India is hosting the International Democracy and Election Management Conference 2026 from 21st to 23rd of January. This three-day international conference is being organized jointly by the India International Institute of Democracy and Election Management and IDEA.
India has assumed the presidency of the International Institute for Democracy and Election Assistance, IDEA, for 2026. Following this, the Election Commission of India is organizing the Election Management Conference 2026 from 21st to 23rd January. This is the largest global conference ever hosted by India in the field of election management and democracy.
45 election management bodies have confirmed, but overall our participation will include many foreign missions. So we expect around 40 other foreign missions to join. So in all, about 85 countries will participate in the international conference. And through different programs, like we said, plenary sessions, we said thematic session, these election management bodies will also have bilateral meetings, exchanging and exploring possibility.
During the event to be held at Bharat Mandapam, around 100 representatives from more than 70 countries will participate and about 42 election management institutions will also take part. The conference will include an inaugural session, EMB leaders plenary, EMB working group meetings, the launch of SENet and thematic sessions based on global electoral issues, international electoral standards, and best practices and innovations. Also, an exhibition related to various elections held in India and its diverse electorate will be showcased. A documentary titled India Decides, relating to the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, will also be screened. Rishi Kumar's report, DT India, Delhi.
While Republic Day parade rehearsals are ongoing in the national capital, along with marching contingents, India's defence strength will also be on display. Indian Army contingents took part in the Republic Day 2026 rehearsal parade at Kartavya Path. A major highlight was the debut of the long-range anti-ship hypersonic glide missile during the rehearsal. Meanwhile, due to the movement of troops and equipment, traffic restrictions remain in place in central Delhi. Authorities have advised commuters to follow advisories and use alternate routes and have urged the public to cooperate for smooth Republic Day preparations. Well, the ships of the Indian Navy's first training squadron, INS Tir, INS Shardul, INS Sujata, along with ICGS Sarthi, made a port call at Palawan in Indonesia on January 20th. The squadron was accorded a warm welcome by the Indonesian Navy, marked by a ceremonial reception featuring traditional dance performances. Now, the ships are presently on a training deployment to Southeast Asia. The deployment of the first training squadron to Indonesia underscores India's sustained engagement with Southeast Asian nations in consonance with its Act East policy. Now, it also reinforces the vision of Mahasagar, which means mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions through regular naval interactions and training exchanges with member nations of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. And India's Operation Sagar Bandhu has been a beacon for communities impacted by Cyclone Ditwa that hit Sri Lanka in November and December 2025. Now, while India delivered humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka, it has now stepped up efforts towards rebuilding Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Indian companies operating in Sri Lanka have also extended humanitarian support worth over 900 million Sri Lankan rupees. President of Indian CEO Forum, Kishore Reddy, has said that the Indian companies have reached out to over 40 extremely remote villages in the island nation, providing emergency relief material. India's High Commissioner Santosh Jha, while speaking to reporters last week, said that Indian companies have also contributed $1 million to rebuilding Sri Lanka Fund.
Indian CEO Forum and the member companies of the Indian CEO Forum, along with Colombo Indians, had been assisting villages. Beyond that, the Indian companies which had actually contributed in terms of cash to the President's Fund for rebuilding Sri Lanka. Apart from that, the member companies alone had actually contributed to more than 900 million Sri Lankan rupees in terms of materials, in terms of cash donations, in terms of logistical vehicles being donated.
Indian companies in Sri Lanka have contributed over $1 million to the Rebuilding Sri Lanka Fund, underscoring their commitment to Sri Lanka's recovery and long-term development.
And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. Gunmen kill at least 31 in Niger's Tillaberi region, Sahel's deadliest zone. Global stocks slide, dollar weakens as Trump tariff threats fuel market volatility. And Indian badminton stars PV Sindhu and Lakshya Sen in action today at the Indonesia Masters. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, amid escalating tensions with the U.S., the European Parliament will soon announce the suspension of the approval of the U.S. trade deal agreed in July last year. Now, earlier, the European Union lawmakers have agreed to hold off ratifying a key trade deal with the United States following President Donald Trump's tariff stance over Greenland. The European Parliament is expected to formally suspend on Wednesday its work on the trade deal struck with the U.S. last summer in protest over Trump's warning. Well, Trump has warned to 8 European Union nations, including France and Germany, with tariffs for not going along with his demand to get Greenland. Also, Washington claims Greenland's strategic location and mineral resources are vital to its security, but the leadership in Denmark and Greenland have rejected the idea, emphasizing their right to self-determination. Well, the trade tensions between the U.S. and Europe had eased since the two sides struck a deal in Scotland in July last year. But that agreement set U.S. levies on most European goods at 15%. In exchange, Europe had agreed to invest in the U.S. and make changes on the continent expected to boost U.S. exports. Now, the deal still needs approval from the European Parliament to become official. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he would not attend an emergency meeting of G7 nations proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron to discuss the Ukraine conflict. Speaking at a White House press briefing marking 1 year into his second term, Trump said he would not attend the meeting, suggesting Macron's political future was uncertain.
Go to Paris for the G7 emergency meeting as offered by President Macron?
No, I wouldn't do that. Because, you know, Emmanuel's not going to be there very long. And, you know, there's no longevity there. He's a friend of mine. He's a nice guy. I like Macron. But he's not going to be there very much longer, as you know.
Well, ahead of a trip to Davos to participate in the World Economic Forum, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would hold several meetings to address his intention to take control of Greenland. Also on Tuesday, he said there was no going back on his goal to control Greenland, refusing to rule out taking the Arctic island by force and lashing out at NATO allies.
We have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland. And I think things are going to work out pretty well. I think that we will work something out where NATO is going to be very happy and where we're going to be very happy. But we need it for security purposes. We need it for national security and even world security.
Well, in a new mass transfer, Mexico sent 37 alleged members of criminal organizations to the United States as part of a crime-fighting cooperation between the two countries. Now, the Mexican Secretary of Security said the alleged criminals posed a threat to national security, adding that with this transfer, a total of 92 alleged criminals have been sent to the U.S. during the current administration. This new mass transfer of alleged criminals took place amid tensions with the U.S. over combating drug trafficking. Now, last week, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and U.S. President Donald Trump had a phone call to rule out any U.S. military intervention in the Latin American nation. This is the third time Mexico has transferred alleged criminals to face charges in the U.S. during Sheinbaum's term. The first was in February 2025 with 29, and the second was in August with 26. And Australian lawmakers on Tuesday have passed tougher laws against hate crime and gun violence in response to last month's mass shooting at a Jewish festival at Sydney's Bondi Beach. Now, the gun control laws passed with the support of the Greens party despite opposition from the opposition Conservative Liberal National Coalition, with a vote of 96 for 45 in the lower house and 38 to 26 in the Senate. While the second bill steps up penalties for hate crimes such as jail terms up to 12 years when a religious official or preacher is involved, and allows bans on groups deemed to spread hate. The bill, which also provides new powers to cancel or refuse visas for those who spread hate, passed by the lower house by a 116 to 7 margin and the Senate 38 to 22. Earlier, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese recalled Parliament from its summer break for this week's special two-day session to toughen curbs after the shooting shocked the nation and prompted calls for more action on gun control and anti-Semitism. And in Niger, gunmen attacked a village in western region near the borders with Burkina Faso and Mali over the weekend, leaving at least 31 people dead. Now, the attack took place on Sunday in a village lying near the Tillaberi region, located in the tri-border area, a flashpoint zone where the frontiers of Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali converge. No group has claimed the responsibility so far. Tillaberi became the deadliest region across central Sahel in 2025, with more than 1,200 deaths, most of them civilians. Now, several terrorist groups that target both civilians and the military operation in Niger, including an Islamic State group affiliate. And in Nepal, a total of 2,925 candidates on Tuesday registered their nominations across 165 constituencies for the House of Representatives elections under the first-past-the-post system. Now, the elections are scheduled to be held on the 5th of March. As per the Election Commission of Nepal, 336 female and 2,589 male candidates have appeared in the EC system. It added the number may still increase since the task of verification is underway in some electoral constituencies. The Election Commission said Mustang district has recorded the lowest number of candidates in Nepal, with only 4 individuals registering their candidacies. And on to some business news now. World stock markets lost ground on Tuesday's rising U.S.-EU tension-stoked volatility following U.S. President Trump's tariff warnings. Shares on both sides of the Atlantic were lower, with European stock markets seeing a second day of losses. In the U.S., all 3 major Wall Street indexes ended with the biggest one-day drops in 3 months. The Dow Jones slid more than 1.7%, while the S&P 500 dropped more than 2%, and the Nasdaq closed about 2.4% lower. Well, also, Europe's main markets suffered, with London closing off 0.7% and Frankfurt ending down 1.0%. On the currency markets, the US dollar also fell sharply. The euro climbed more than 0.8% against the dollar to $1.1749 before falling back, while the pound also jumped before ending the day up 0.1% at $1.343. Meanwhile, gold, seen as a safe haven investment, notched yet another record high, surpassing $4,750 an ounce. Silver also peaked, surging above $95.5 an ounce. And moving on to sports now, top Indian shuttlers will begin the campaign at the Indonesia Masters Badminton Tournament today. 2-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu will clash with the Manami Suizi of Japan in the first round. Sindhu had reached the semi-finals of the season-opening Malaysia Open earlier this month. Sindhu will be accompanied by Malvika Bansod, Tanvi Sharma and Unnati Huja in the women's single main draw. Well, India's top men's single player Lakshya Sen will look to carry forward the positives from his quarter-final run at the Indian Open last week. Former world number 1 Kidambi Srikanth is also in the men's single draw, along with companies H.S. Pranoy, Tarun Minepali and Ayush Shetty. And India's final preparations for the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 begin with a 5-match T20 series against New Zealand, starting with the opening match in Nagpur on Wednesday. After a 2-1 defeat in the ODI series, Team India led by Suryakumar Yadav will aim to bounce back in the shortest format. New Zealand arrive with confidence after achieving several firsts over the past year, including a Test series whitewash and the first ever bilateral ODI series win in India. Now the visitors will look to script another milestone in T20 cricket as well. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.